When she said, "I'm pregnant," I dropped my coffee mug. It shattered across the kitchen tiles, but I didn't even flinch. I just stared at her trembling hands, her eyes glistening with something between joy and fear. And for a brief, foolish second, I thought my life had just become perfect. After 3 years of trying, of hospital visits and whispered prayers at night, of her crying in the bathroom after another negative test, I finally heard the words I'd been waiting for. "I'm pregnant." I pulled her into my arms, kissed her forehead and whispered, "We did it." But now, sitting here months later, staring at the ultrasound photo on my desk, I can't help but wonder, did we? It started small. Little things you don't notice until they form a pattern. Her phone face down more often. Late-night work messages. Suddenly caring too much about how she looked, even when she was supposedly just running errands. I told myself I was being paranoid. She was glowing. Happy. Maybe it was the pregnancy hormones, maybe she just felt alive again. But then came the first seed of doubt. At our first doctor's appointment, the OB mentioned the conception window. It didn't make sense. I remembered that week vividly because I was away on a business trip in Boston. 3 days. She said she got her positive test about 2 weeks later. I didn't say anything. Not then. I smiled, nodded, held her hand when the doctor showed us the tiny flickering heartbeat on the screen. But my own heart didn't flicker, it froze. For weeks I tried to ignore the voice in my head. "You're just insecure. She wouldn't do that to you. She's your wife." But the cracks widened. One night, she fell asleep on the couch, her phone resting loosely in her hand. A notification popped up. Just a first name I didn't recognize. Eric. The message preview said, "Can't stop thinking about you." I felt my blood turn to ice. My hand shook as I unlocked her phone. The passcode, our anniversary, still worked. There were months of messages. "Last night was incredible. I wish things were different. He doesn't suspect anything." There it was. Black and white. The truth that ripped me apart. She was pregnant. But not with my child. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I sat there for hours scrolling through their messages, reading every lie she'd ever told me. They had been seeing each other for almost a year. It started when she switched departments at work. He was her new supervisor, married too. They had hotel receipts, secret meetups during conferences, even photos. I don't know which hurt more, the betrayal itself or the realization that I had ignored every sign. I had been so desperate to be a father, so blinded by love, that I let her use me as a shield for her guilt. The next morning I acted normal. Made her coffee. Kissed her cheek. I even asked about baby names. But something in me had already changed. I started planning. Not out of anger, at least not at first, but for clarity. I needed to know. I bought a prenatal DNA test kit. I told her the doctor recommended it for medical reasons. She hesitated, but I played my role so perfectly she didn't question it. 2 weeks later the results came in. Probability of paternity 0%. It was like reading my own obituary. I could have confronted her in anger, shouted, demanded explanations. But I didn't. I wanted her to live with the truth first. To let her believe her lies were still working. So I waited. She threw a small dinner party for us, celebrating the second trimester. Close friends, family, laughter, clinking glasses. She glowed that night, her hand resting over her stomach like it was a sacred thing. I stood beside her, smiling, playing the perfect husband one last time. When everyone sat down for dessert, I raised my glass. "To honesty," I said, "and to the beautiful future ahead." Everyone clapped. She smiled, embarrassed, thinking I was being sentimental. Then I continued. "I just got the results of the prenatal DNA test," I said calmly. "Turns out, I'm not the father." The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Her face drained of color. My mother gasped. Her fork clattered to the table. I wanted to share this with everyone because I think truth deserves a toast too. I left the papers on the table and walked out. She followed me outside, crying, begging. "It was a mistake," she said. "It just happened once." "Once?" I said. "You've been seeing him for almost a year. You told him you loved him." She covered her face, sobbing. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely. You were always working and..." I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound came out hollow and broken. Lonely, I said. I was killing myself trying to build a life for us, for our family. And while I was dreaming of cribs and lullabies, you were sleeping with your boss. She tried to touch my arm, but I stepped back. You used me, I said quietly. You let me believe that baby was mine. She didn't respond, just cried. That was the last time I saw her. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. I moved out of the house we built together. She tried to fight for alimony, but the evidence, texts, emails, the test spoke for itself. I heard through mutual friends that Eric's wife found out too. He lost his job, his marriage, and from what I hear, his reputation. As for her, she had the baby. A boy. Sometimes late at night I still think about that child. He didn't ask for any of this. He's innocent. But every time I picture his face, all I see is a reminder of the woman who broke me. It's been a year now. I'm learning to live again. To laugh again. I adopted a dog, started therapy, and even went back to painting. Something I'd given up years ago. People say time heals everything. I don't think that's true. Some wounds don't heal, they just stop bleeding. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: love without honesty is just self-destruction in disguise. She taught me that. And though I'll never thank her for the pain, I'll admit one thing. She showed me what kind of man I'll never be again. The kind who trusts blindly. The kind who mistakes silence for peace. The kind who confuses love with loyalty. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see someone different. Scarred, yes, but wiser. Because sometimes the cruelest truths set you free. And the day I learned I wasn't that child's father was the day I finally became my own.